Okay, so the first step in this process is to learn the grip. So first of all, if you lay the club in this sort of, you've got these little sections of your finger here, 3 sections, along this middle section or this crease here, the second one down, lay the club, make sure the club is straight first, lay that club in that area, and then wrap your hand over the top so that your thumb, so this is for a right-handed golfer, your thumb is down the right side of the grip on the diagonal, okay, like this. Now you should be able to see 2 knuckles, maybe even all of the knuckles if you hold it down like this. But you should certainly see 2 knuckles quite clearly on this side. And some of the logo on your glove. Now from here, and just make sure that this thumb pad is down, just as a side note, make sure it's not up like this. Get the thumb, extend it down, so there's no gaps in the grip. You can't see any gaps in there at all. Very important that, further down the line. Now with the other hand, just go in from underneath, again, and that's this joint of your knuckles in here, and then wrap the right hand on top. Now you're looking for this thumb to fit in this little socket in here, underneath this thumb pad. Okay, like that. And then once you're in there, now when you're looking down, both V's, the V here and the V here, should both be running parallel with each other up towards this right shoulder. Now you're in this position, just slip the little finger on top, little finger on top of the other knuckle in that little gap there, that little crease. Okay, now that is an overlapping grip or a Vardon grip. It's a traditional grip, it's what most tour pros use. There is an alternative. Instead of laying the little finger on top, you can just hook the 2 fingers in like this. Okay, that's called an interlocking grip. Now there's not much difference between the two. I've used both for extended periods of time, and to be honest I could hit a golf ball with either and it would not really make any difference. I can't really feel much difference anymore. To you they might feel very different because you're not used to it. Now, there's not much difference between them. I mean, the theories are with the interlocking, it's a little bit easier to get your hands around the grip. Your right hand folds around a little bit easier, so maybe a little bit better if you have slightly smaller hands or shorter fingers. And this one fills your right hand a little bit better. So you've got the left finger, the index finger in your left hand, filling out your right hand. So you've got a bit more to hold on to. So if you have long fingers or bigger hands, this is a better way of doing things. Now this is another thing that's really important. It's not necessarily the size of your hands in terms of grip thickness and what glove size you use. It's more about the length of your hands, because you're wrapping your hands around the grip. So you could have really big chunky hands, but if you don't have particularly long digits, you might not necessarily need big grips. But if you've got long thin hands, I mean mine are quite long and thin, if you've got long thin hands and fingers, I mean, you're going to really wrap around the club very effectively. You're going to find that you need bigger, thicker grips. So this is a mid-size with an extra 4 layers of tape, I think. If I was to wear a glove that fits me for length, I'd wear a large. And if I want a glove that fits me for width, I need a medium. So I end up somewhere between 2. I usually either stick with the medium and just make do with this being too short instead of being up here, or I wear a medium large and that's kind of in between both worlds, but it can feel a little bit loose. Depends on the make of grip. That's a glove. That's another thing that's really important. Try different makes of gloves out. Just because you've got Titleist irons or Mizuno irons or whatever it is, doesn't mean you have to stick with the same brand. Choose the brand that does the job the best. You know, that's the same with woods, wedges, hybrids, whatever it is. Don't stick with one make for the sake of sticking with one make. You know, use what's best for you. So if you like a tailor-made putter, but you like Titleist woods, then do that. You know, don't stick with one brand just for the sake of it, because you're going to be cutting yourself short, selling yourself short. So anyway, back to the glove grip again. Another thing to check, make sure, so both of these are pointing towards your right shoulder, you've got overlapping or interlocking, and the grip is secure in your hands, okay? So it's not loose, it's not tight either, it's just secure. So, you know, they've got these analogies they use. One of them is holding a tube of toothpaste, a full tube of toothpaste, to squeeze it as hard as you can with no toothpaste coming out. It's not very hard, you know, that's hardly anything at all. You're literally just encompassing the tube and not much else, no excess pressure there. Another one is to hold a budgerigar, you know, it's just nice and secure so it can't move, but no excess pressure at all, nothing to hurt it. You're going to be looking to do the same with your grip. Really secure, make sure there's no gaps and everything is down and around the grip, but no excess pressure, because that will restrict your freedom of movement. Think of it as a hinge on a door. You know, you're hitting the golf ball with a body turn and everything else just follows and goes on its own. So if you have a really well-oiled hinge, that door's going to slam shut. Whereas if you have a rusty, rigid hinge, which is what you're going to be doing if you grip this club tight, you're really going to be holding back the club and actually restricting and limiting your distance. rather than allowing the full speed of the movement to occur. So, interlocking and overlapping. There is an alternative, baseball. If you have arthritic fingers, or you're just for whatever reason struggling with overlapping or interlocking, you can go baseball, but there are some limitations with baseball. So one of them is distance. You'll lose distance here more often than not. And the reason being, quite simply, for every half an inch on the length of the club is about another 3 yards. Very loose, rough calculation, but if you use that, it kind of gives you an idea. So if you just by going into an overlapping grip or an interlocking grip, you can see that you're actually gaining between half an inch and an inch in terms of your low point and where you're holding the grip. That's your hinge point, that's where you're going to generate your speed from. So you're effectively lengthening the club half an inch to an inch if you go to an overlapping or interlocking grip. So you're going to gain some yardage. The other reason as well is your right arm. If you're in a baseball grip, you see the right arm comes away from the chest slightly. There's an interlocking or overlapping, it pulls your right arm into your side. Now that's very effective because as you're hinging back and you want your arms to fold down naturally whilst you're turning your torso, if your arms are closer together and your right elbow's nearer to your side, it's going to be easier for your wrists to hinge and the club to move around your upper body and get the proper hinge. Whereas if you were, like for example down here, is exaggerating, it can be very hard to fold your right elbow down and you're going to be struggling to get the right kind of movement. This is going to want to bend and it's just all kinds of bad moves going on there. So the closer the hands are together, the easier it is to get the correct hinging movement in your backswing. So that's another reason why we go overlapping or interlocking. And that's also going to help improve your speed, because with your hands closer in, you're able to get a bit more whip on it on the way through, generate more lag. Again, whereas back here, you're going to struggle for lag. So interlocking or overlapping if you can, it's really, really important. Baseball only if you have to. We want to see both feet pointing towards the shoulder. Now